So finally, exciting stuff coming from Dior, the house of Christian Dior. Since Francis Cruikshank took over as perfumer, in-house perfumer, creative director over there, it's been slow getting some stuff off the ground. He's released a couple of different Dior Privee collection fragrances and maybe a few, signature line fragrances. But not only do we have SAUVAGE Eau Forte coming soon, I will talk about that in another video. But in this video, I'm going to talk to you about five ESPRIT de Parfum fragrances that I believe they're like flankers of the original Dior Privee collection fragrances. The fragrances are Ambre Nuit, Gris Dior, Lucky, Oud ISPAHAN, and Rouge Trafalgar. Find out all about these coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's Sebastian. I'm talking about ESPRIT de Parfum fragrances from the house of Dior, Christian Dior. These are what seem to be flankers of existing fragrances from the Dior Privee collection. And I'm not 100% sure on the concentration, but with my research and what I've been gathering, it seems to be somewhere in between eau de parfum concentration, which is basically what they are currently in bottles like this, and somewhere in between eau de parfum and extrait de parfum. So not extrait de parfum. Again, I'm not 100% sure, and if these are out near you already, because I'm seeing some posts about them, do let us know what information you have on these fragrances. I'm quite excited. Finally, I think we're getting some new releases from the House of Dior. I hope they live up to what they sound like they're going to be. So I'm curious to get my nose on these, because the Dior Privee collection fragrances are really great. I really like them, but they seem to be a bit underwhelming with performance. And there are a lot of great fragrances in this collection. The two favorites of mine, or three favorites of mine, maybe a few others, are not part of the ESPRIT de Parfum fragrances. But the collection that's coming, Ambre Nuit, Gris Dior, Lucky, Oud ISPAHAN, and Rouge Trafalgar. So let's go ahead and quickly discover these five fragrances. I have all four. I have four of the five, and with the one I don't have, Lucky, I have a little mini bottle, and I will tell you all about it here. I don't know why I didn't buy this fragrance. It's a Lily of the Valley floral fragrance, and I do enjoy Lily of the Valley in fragrances, so thankfully I had a mini, so I'll tell you all about it. But one of the more popular ones in this collection, in this series, is Ambre Nuit. And I feel like it has gotten butchered. It's a lot lighter now. It doesn't have its robustness as it once did. It's gone through multiple reformulations, but it's a really delicious take on a rose amber fragrance. Very prominent with the rose, but it's nicely blended with the ambery notes. It's got ambergris. In addition to the rose, there's also amber, and then there's pink pepper, bergamot, grapefruit, Guaiac wood, and patchouli. Let me know if you're a fan of this fragrance. Let's go ahead and quickly smell on camera and let you know about it. I do enjoy it, but it has gotten quite weak, and I can only imagine what they're going to do with the ESPRIT de Parfum version of this. That smells really, really nice. It really does. It's a really, really great take on an amber. They used to have another fragrance called Myrrh, which I'm hoping they'll bring back, which I don't know if they will ever. I prefer that amber more. This one is a bit more mass appealing. The Myrrh is a bit more resinous and balsamic and a bit musky as well. This one's a nice fusion of ambery notes with spices and rose. The rose does seem to come up also in a few other fragrances, but this kind of also reminds me a little bit of Spice Blend, but with more of a rose and more amber and not as dry and spicy as the Spice Blend. Spice Blend has peppery spices, and Ambre Nuit has pink pepper. So, but I'll see what they do with this one, because we've been wanting some more concentrated takes on these fragrances, and hopefully the price point is also not going to be extremely really pricey, because the prices on these fragrances have gone up over, really, really high. And so most likely the price point of the ESPRIT de Parfum fragrances will be high as well. But if I can get a really nice, updated, heavier take on Ambre Nuit, I'd be happy with it, because it's been a while since I sampled it, and I'm smelling it here on the strip here, and it's smelling really, really pleasant. I really enjoy it. I'm getting a bit of cinnamon spice with this for some strange reason today. But that is a really fantastic smelling fragrance. Let me know if you're a fan of it. If you've gotten your nose on the ESPRIT de Parfum version of Ambre Nuit, do let me know. Put a comment down below. Again, I'm seeing some posts, but I've asked the sales associate here in the USA, and they're mentioning that it's not coming until next month, so we have to wait patiently. But the next fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is Gris Dior. If you're unfamiliar with Gris Dior, it used to be called Gris Montagne, and they changed it to Gris Dior. I feel like Gris Dior, I guess maybe it's a little more catchy, and it has gotten reformulated since it became Gris Dior as well, from what I've heard. And last year they did this big campaign with Gris Dior, so I feel like it's a successful fragrance. Again, I don't know what conclusion they came to release these as Esprit de Parfums fragrances. If anybody has that information, let me know. Because fragrances like Vanilla Diorama, Tabaccolor, are those pretty intense enough to not create the Esprit de Parfum version? I would really love those as Esprit de Parfums, because they're already pretty highly concentrated. Not beast mode, but pretty highly concentrated. And getting those even more concentrated would be great. And I think those fragrances will lend themselves really great to higher concentrations, because they're the types of fragrances, the vanilla being this really delicious, you know, ambery, chocolatey, boozy, not chocolatey as much, I should take that back, more, there are sprinkles of chocolate in that fragrance, but it's more boozy and a bit citrusy. If that fragrance will be perfect as a higher concentration fragrance. And then Tabaccolor also, I feel like it would lend itself. But Gris Dior is a rose chypre with Oakmoss, Patchouli, Bergamot, rose of course, Cedar, Amber, and Sandalwood. It's definitely become a favorite of mine. When I first started sampling the Dior Privee collection back in 2013, I wasn't the biggest fan of this one. I think what really stood out was the vetiver and the Myrrh. Those two were really great. I really loved them. And then, of course, Leather Oud, which is now discontinued as well. The vetiver, Myrrh, Leather Oud are gone. And the only one that also excited me a little bit at that time was Oud ISPAHAN, which still exists, and they're creating an Esprit de Parfum. So Gris Dior, let's go ahead and smell it, but do let me know if you're a fan of this fragrance. I have a standalone video on this fragrance if you want to go catch that to learn a little bit more about it. But they did a whole advertising campaign on this fragrance with Jenna Ortega and a bunch of other celebrities and influencers, I guess. But it's rose for sure, and the Oakmoss and the Patchouli really stand out. But there's this brightness in the background with the bergamot. It's very, there's a juiciness with that, you know, bergamot feature in here. But eventually it gets ambery in the dry down. Most likely they have some labdanum or anything that creates an amber accord. And of course cedar, woods, and sandalwood in the base as well. Really pleasant. I think this one has great lingering power. But again, it's not necessarily like uber intense beast mode. Let's see what they do with the Esprit de Parfum version. But the next fragrance I'm talking about, I don't have a full bottle of. It's Lucky. It's in this little mini bottle. I've been gifted this bottle when I buy the Dior Privee fragrances. They're like this. They're cute little bottles. I think these hold 7.5 ml. Yeah. According to the bottom, it does say 7.5 ml. Get that focus right there. Anyway. So, Lucky is a floral, green floral fragrance with lily of the valley, sprigs, it says, white flowers, and fresh leaves, taken from the Dior website, Dior Fragrances website. And I was never... I wasn't excited about this fragrance. I don't know why. I think maybe the name turned me off for some strange reason. I don't know why. But I should have not judged a book by its cover. But I haven't really smelled it in a long time, so I don't know how light it is, how strong it is. Are you a fan of Lucky? Let me know. Are you a fan of Lily of the Valley? Is that a note you enjoy? A lot of times some comments I receive about Lily of the Valley mention grandma fragrances, so it is a bit on the classic side, but for me, I get past that. Lily of the Valley has got this very fresh, bright green, white floral touches with somewhat of a citrusy background. Like, it's bright and fresh. It's very effervescent and just a lot of brightness for some strange reason. And for me, this seems like it's going in that direction. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can figure this and smell it for you guys. It's been a while since I've smelled it, and I haven't gone back to it. And most likely this is a popular fragrance if they're making an Esprit de Parfum version of it. I can smell the Lily of the Valley. So Lily of the Valley also was featured prominently in Diorissimo from Dior, classic fragrance that I really, really love. I don't know why I didn't come to this, because I'm a big fan of that. This does seem a little less in your face with the greenness and the dominance of the Lily of the Valley note. I feel like it's been smoothed over. There's a softness about it. And for me, when I experience Lily of the Valley, like in Diorissimo, there's a tartness about it and a sharpness about it that I'm not getting here. It's a bit smoother, softer and smoother. Like imagine how sharp focused an image or my camera is, and if I smear it with something oily, it gets all soft focusy. So I feel like they've done that to this fragrance and smoothed it over, because typically Lily of the Valley for me does come off a bit astringent. I feel like it's a nice fresh spring-like floral fragrance, and I'm assuming this has fans because it's a pretty fragrance. It's definitely leaning feminine. I could see this going stronger, you know. I could see this totally going stronger for sure. I could see that because it definitely needs it, because it's so subtle. Although dabbing versus spraying creates a bit more softness, so maybe that's what's creating this. But from what I remember when I tested this on strip at the Dior store or wherever I sampled it, did come off a bit soft. So I could see that totally going into the Esprit de Parfum direction. We'll see how it is. Again, sometime next month apparently. I don't know how fast they'll come here, but my contact was in New York City and they said August. So I don't know if they'll get here in August in California. But I'm also going to be traveling to London in August at Harrods. I know upstairs in the salon there is a Dior boutique there, so I think it's still there. I'll sample it there if it's already been launched there. But also, guys, just not change the subject, but for my fragrance launch with Jusbox launching in August 18th, we were doing a event at Harrods, and the first batch of seats sold out instantly. Because it was so popular, they've actually opened up another hour. I think it comes 2 hours before, 2 or 3 hours before when the first set of seats sold out. So I'll have a link in the info box, but if you're interested in coming to meet me with Julienne Rasconet and of course the two founders of Jusbox Fragrances and smell my new creation with them, please go sign up before we run out. I haven't really announced it anywhere. They just opened up the additional hour of seats. There's 30 seats available. But let's move on to the next fragrance. It is Oud Ispahan. This has been a very popular fragrance for Dior, and it's almost to me like a rosier, less animalic take on Leather Oud. Leather Oud, if you remember, was so animalic, so overwhelmingly animalic. It's funny, my palette has changed a lot. When I first got into this, I was really into extreme animalics, but for some strange reason, my chemistry changes or something. I can tolerate animalics now, but I don't tolerate them as much as I used to. Just my mood changes maybe, but I was a big fan of Leather Oud and I wore quite a bit of it. Towards the end, before they completely or permanently discontinued it, it had gotten really watered down. But Dior's Oud Ispahan, for me, I felt like it was less animalic, taking Leather Oud, toning it down, and adding rose to it. It's rose and oud and woods and smoke and resins, myrrh and floral notes, and that Leather Oud was quite smoky, so you would smell that kind of burned, animalic, charred leather animalics, kind of a combo with the oud that was in there. It had a following for sure, and I felt like this was safer. It's still kind of going animalic, but right now I feel like it has gotten weaker as well, and since most likely this is a very popular fragrance for Dior, they're definitely going to launch a stronger version of it. Hopefully these Esprit de Parfum fragrances are not super expensive, because prices have gone up with fragrances, and I feel like these are going to be expensive, but hopefully they are really concentrated rather than something in between the Eau de Parfum and Extrait de Parfum, which is what I've heard. But very much rosy, oud's there. It does have some funk. Now, this could be also a Western oud and enhanced with some synthetic animalics to make it smell like an animalic oud rose combo. And of course the smokiness gets in there. But there's a brightness around here. I feel like the floral notes are creating a brightness around the fragrance, so it's a fresh at the same time deep, and also resinous and oudy woody, and of course the rose. It's quite good. I really like it. If you like something like this, with a little less rose, tried Diptyque's Oud Palau. I felt like they're kind of similar, but the Oud Palau is a bit more animalic, not so much like leather oud, and a bit less rosy. And it smells really, really great. I feel like they're definitely connected. And if you like layering, you can wear both and enhance each other to create a very robust, you know, oud rose combo with both of those fragrances, Oud ISPAHAN and Oud Palau. And the last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is Rouge Trafalgar. This is the last. This list was in alphabetical order, by the way, but this is the last one in the series of Esprit de Parfum fragrances. I was a fan of this ever since it launched. I love it. It's fresh, uber fresh and fruity, but it was on the light side. I feel like it has maybe even gotten lighter since then. It launched like at the end of 2019, just very, very early 2020, just before that pandemic came on. Also, a friend just recently bought this in France, one of my friends that I've traveled with in the past, and they said it was extremely weak. I don't know, they were wearing it when it was not as hot. I would leave this one for warm weather wear because it's so fresh and fruity. But it's blackcurrant, raspberry, strawberries, musk, grapefruit, cherries, mandarin orange, patchouli. It's a great fragrance, very fruity, very patchouli, and not necessarily beast mode. So I can see that this being very popular and also needing to be intensified with the Esprit de Parfum concentration that they're doing. Let me know if you're familiar with this one. Put a comment down below. Let's smell it for you on camera. Very juicy. This is extremely juicy, fruity. It lightly hints at L'Ambre dans l'eau. I think it's the blackcurrant, which is also prominent there. But once you get past that, it's a juicy fruity. Like it's almost like a fruit juice rather than a fruit smoothie, because there's that freshness and a thinness. Sometimes you can experience pulpiness, like in Pacific Chill from Louis Vuitton. I kind of consider that a bit fruit smoothie-like, because there's that pulpiness in there. This doesn't have that pulpiness. It's all very watery. Really, really wonderful. I really like this one. So this one I'm actually really, really curious. Although I feel like when it's extremely hot, you can pull this and it'll be perfect, even though it's not the longest lasting fragrance. I think the heat will intensify it off your skin. But how are they going to do the, you know, the Esprit de Parfum version of that? Anyway, those are the 5 fragrances that are launching from Dior in the Esprit de Parfum collection. I guess it's Esprit de Parfums. If anybody's gotten their nose on all these fragrances, do let us know. Put a comment down below so we can all find out. Because I have been seeing photos of people posting about these fragrances. And again, as I mentioned, I asked my sales associate, Dior exec, for Dior fragrances. And he mentioned these won't be launching until August. So we've got a few weeks to a month to go. And we'll find out when they come out. But if you do have any info on any of these, let us know. Put a comment down below. Letting me know which one you're most excited about. Put a comment down. And I'm glad that they're doing something new over there. Not new, really, but, you know, giving us some new releases. But one last thing. I heard that Fève Delicious is coming back. Is this really true? I don't know where, but a few comments came in that Fève Delicious is being brought back. Is this really, really true, or is it just a rumor or fake news? Let me know, guys, if you know anything about this. It's my favorite from the whole line, although Vanilla Diorama has been a favorite of mine, but it was kind of tied between the two. It would be nice to see a Esprit de Parfums version of Fève Delicious, wouldn't it? Don't you guys think? Anyway, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video, please share it, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.